Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep today. We've got this article
All right.
called "Future Warrior"
Okay.
by Shawn Wondunna Foley. It was published January 9th, 2025, just last week actually, over at www.innerway.com.au. And what's a pretty powerful piece. It really gets you thinking, about what it means to be a future spiritual warrior. That's kind of the core concept here.
Right.
And we're going to unpack that, what that means for you, what it means for the world. And we're going to be looking at some pretty big ideas, like liberation, higher consciousness, all that good stuff.
I love it. Let's do it.
All right, so the article kind of jumps right in
Yeah.
with this idea of a future spiritual warrior.
Right into the deep end.
Yeah, and it's not just about, personal growth. It's about responsibility.
Yeah.
It's about creating change.
Absolutely.
So what do you think, like when you read that, what popped out at you?
Well, the thing that really struck me, I think, was just that sense of urgency. Like it's a call to action. It's not just, sit around and think good thoughts. It's like, no, we gotta get up and do something.
Totally.
And be the change.
Be the change.
Yeah.
And one of the first things, too, the article talks about this idea of breaking free from, quote, economic slavery.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. What do you make of that?
Well, I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? Like feeling stuck in jobs that, maybe don't fulfill them or just that constant, pressure to make money, to pay the bills and how that can kind of, take over your life, prevent you from...
Consume you, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Prevent you from pursuing your passions or your purpose.
So how do you think, then, that ties into the idea of a future spiritual warrior? Like, what's the connection there?
Well, I think it's about recognizing that true freedom, it's not just about external circumstances. It's also about, like, an internal state. It's about freeing yourself from those, those mental and emotional chains as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a big part of what it means to be a future spiritual warrior. It's like, taking control of your own mind, your own thoughts, your own actions, and not letting yourself be, enslaved by external forces.
Right. About reclaiming that sovereignty.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the article goes on to talk about this idea of rising above ego.
Right, another big one.
What do you think about that?
I mean, ego is something that, we all struggle with.
Definitely.
It's that part of us that wants to be right, that wants to be in control, that wants to be, better than others.
Well, validation, yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. And it can be, it can be really destructive, both on a personal level and on a, societal level.
So how do we even begin to, rise above that? What are some strategies or...
Well, I think a big part of it is just awareness, like recognizing when your ego is running the show. Yeah. And then, from there, it's about starting to make different choices.
Okay.
Choosing to, let go of the need to be right.
Right.
Choosing to, put others before yourself.
Yeah.
Choosing to act from a place of love and compassion rather than, fear and anger.
That's powerful. And then, the article ties this all into the importance of unity.
Yes.
This idea of, like, working together for the greater good.
Collective consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts on that? Because this seems to be a really, central theme throughout the article.
Well, I think it's essential, because, like, we're not meant to do this alone.
Right.
We're social creatures. We're meant to connect. We're meant to collaborate. And when we come together, with a shared purpose, with a shared vision, that's when we can really make a difference.
In the article, actually, there's this great quote that I jotted down. It says, when individuals come together in a shared purpose, the impact is magnified, creating waves of positive change that resonate throughout society.
I love that.
Right. It's like, it's almost poetic, this idea of like a ripple effect.
Yeah, like one person's actions can inspire others, and then those people inspire more people, and it just, it spreads outwards.
Builds momentum.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've talked about, breaking free from economic slavery.
Yeah.
We've talked about rising above ego. We've talked about the importance of unity.
Right.
And then the article also kind of digs into this idea of, like, cultivating higher consciousness.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How do we do that? Like, what are some practical tips?
Well, there are a lot of different practices that can help. Things like meditation, mindfulness, spending time in nature, connecting with with like-minded people.
Right.
But I think it really boils down to like making a conscious effort to live from a place of love, compassion, understanding.
Right, right.
It's about, choosing those things, even when it's hard.
So what would you say, like, to someone who's listening to this and they're like, okay, this all sounds great, but I don't even know where to start. Like, what's one thing they could do today to kind of, step into this role of a future spiritual warrior?
That's a great question. I think, just start with something small.
Right.
Like, maybe take 5 minutes today to just sit in silence and connect with your breath. Or, maybe do something kind for someone else without expecting anything in return.
Right, right.
It doesn't have to be a big, grand gesture, just something simple.
Yeah, yeah.
And just see how that feels.
Yeah.
And then, build from there.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
This article is really packed with ideas, and I think it really does, like, paint a picture of a different way of being in the world.
Really.
A more, conscious, compassionate, connected way.
Yeah, and a more hopeful way, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it shows us that, like, we have the power to create the future that we want.
We're not just, like, passive bystanders.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So for our listeners out there, I think, as you're going about your day-to-day, just kind of ask yourself, like, what does it mean for you to be a future spiritual warrior? What actions can you take, big or small, to embody that, to make a difference?
That's the question.
It is the question. All right, well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep those spiritual warrior vibes flowing out there.
Always.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.